We hear a lot these days about immigration, and particularly in the news a lot about D.A.C.A. Democrats lament for the poor children, and Republicans oppose it on moral principle, and we Americans get caught in the middle of this ongoing D.A.C.A drama. Perhaps a little accuracy is in order. I'm Stephen Arms, and welcome to D.A.C.A is an acronym for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. This policy was put in place by the Obama administration to allow illegal immigrant children in the U.S. to stay in this country. There were several qualifications for it. Undocumented immigrants had to arrive in the USA before they were 16, so they had to be younger than 31 on June 15th of 2012. And they had to live in the United States continuously since June of 2007. They had to be free of any criminal history. And if they checked out, their deportation was deferred for a period of 2 years with an opportunity to renew it. They could also at that point apply for driver's license, work permits, enroll in college, and even apply for Social Security benefits. Now, backstory here a little is probably in order. In October of 2010, there was a push from the left that making demands that the Obama administration implement immigration reform unilaterally. Now, at the time, President Obama declared, "I'm not a king. I can't do these things just by myself." Then in March of 2011, he stated that with respect for the notion that I can suspend deportations through executive order, that's just not the case. And then later in May of 2011, he acknowledged that he couldn't just bypass Congress and change the law myself. That's not how democracy works, referring to immigration law. Yet in 2012, that's exactly what he did. He put D.A.C.A into place to provide this kind of pseudo-legal status for illegal aliens brought into the United States as minors. And as I stated before, he had promised that they wouldn't be deported and they would be provided with work authorization and access to various government benefits and services in this country. He did this in spite of the fact that immigration laws are passed by Congress, and they did not give the president the ability to do what he did. Indeed, Congress had specifically rejected bills that had been put in place to provide such benefits. Now, the unconstitutionality of President Obama's actions has pretty much been confirmed when he tried to implement a second similar program in 2014. It's called, let me think about it a second, Deferred Action for Parents of Americans and Lawful Permanent Residents, which is why they called it D.A.C.A. Also because it rhymes with DACA, and it's easy to remember, I guess, that way. And this would provide administrative amnesty for illegal aliens who came into the U.S. as adults and gave them work authorization and access to government benefits also. Now, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld a nationwide injunction against D.A.C.A, which the Supreme Court allowed to stand. Now, as the Fifth Circuit said, the fact that the president declined to enforce the law and remove illegal aliens, and again, quote here, does not transform presence deemed unlawful by Congress into lawful presence and conferred eligibility for otherwise unavailable benefits based on that change. So in other words, just because the president says they can have these benefits, it doesn't mean they have. Again, the power of immigration in the United States is under the Constitution. This power is what they call plenary or absolute belonging to Congress over immigration. The president has the authority that is delegated to him by Congress, and we'll talk more about that a little later. But Congress had never given the president the power to provide this pseudo-amnesty and govern benefits for people that aren't citizens of the United States. And the D.A.C.A program suffers from the same constitutional difficulties that the D.A.P.A program does. A number of states had threatened to sue the administration to stop the D.A.C.A program recently. And this is one of the reasons that, at least that President Trump stated, is why he really had no choice. He decided that he was going to take action and in the D.A.C.A program if Congress didn't act within a certain amount of time, and he dumped it back in Congress's lap, which is what we're dealing with right now and why there's so much in the news on this. The place to really have this debate about illegal aliens who were minors when they came to this country belongs in the halls of Congress. It doesn't belong in the White House. Failure to correct this unilateral unconstitutional outreach is dangerous precedent. It's a dangerous precedent, and it threatens the constitutional balance of power. There's a noted law professor that I've read whose name is Jonathan Turley, and he said, if a president can claim sweeping discretion to suspend key federal laws, the entire legislative process becomes little more than a pretense. In essence, the president at that point is becoming a king, not a president. And there's problems with the substance of this executive action. D.A.C.A is defected in two ways. First, it presumes that to exercise legislative power of the administration that it doesn't have. And secondly, it violates the most basic core of constitutional principles, is the separation of powers. The president is the executive branch. The Congress is the legislative branch. And for people who argue against that, there's really not a shred of honesty in that argument. Democrats took a very weak constitutional position. Weak is being generous. It's pretty much a radical position that the president must act if Congress fails to act. Well, if you're talking about a disastrous situation with the president may have to declare martial law, or if the country were being invaded and he had to mobilize the army instantly because there's Hottentots or Mars people attacking Washington, maybe he would have to act. But in this case, if Congress fails to pass a law, the president has to act. Do you really want to live in the United States of America where the president, by executive fiat, can act anytime Congress fails to pass a law? Now again, as far as the powers that the president does have, in 1952, Congress passed the Immigration and Nationality Act, which expressly authorized the president to suspend immigration of any person or class of people or group of people into the United States for public health, safety, and national security reasons. Now this has come into the forefront in the last year because of the fact that there were travel ban restrictions that had been put in place by President Trump. And it is not hard to feel. The president has the presidential power in our system deals with immigration as a foreign policy issue, and foreign policy is constitutionally the domain of the president. Congress's role in that is more the lines of the confirmation of treaties and ambassadors and passing laws directly dealing with it. And of course, they have to put the money for the president to spend and all that sort of thing. I mean, it's a good balance in the system. And for example, what we're talking about here, in 1979, President Jimmy Carter exercised his presidential power to bar anyone from Iran from entering our country until the hostage crisis was over. I guess people didn't realize at the time that Iran was a Muslim nation, and therefore President Carter must have been obviously must have been an Islamophobe. Of course, President Obama did the same thing in 2011 when he used his presidential power to bar anyone from Iraq from entering the United States for a period of 6 months. I guess President Obama was an Islamophobe too. I have problems with both sides of politically on this issue. Immigration is a matter that has been a part of the United States for my lifetime as a difficulty. And in the last 30 years, it's been noticeably difficult in the fact that Congress has really refused to do anything it should be doing on this. And I do not believe, for an instant, that the Democrats really care a monkey's butt about D.A.C.A people. If they thought that they would vote Republican, they would be screaming for their deportation. Now, the Democrats, I think, see them just as the newest flock of identity politic sheep that can be herded out every election for a political shearing. And you go, well, you're being hard on him, Professor Arms. I am. But I'm also being what I consider accurate. The Republicans are not much better. They're keeping them, they don't have a problem with illegal immigrants because of the fact that they're able to get cheap labor out of it. They're able to, let's have all these little things that they need that help them. Because honestly, we all know that if you really wanted to limit illegals coming into this country, who you have to be getting is eliminating the employers who hire them. If you find the employers severely on matters of illegal immigrants, they're going to stop hiring illegal immigrants. And the other portion in this that is ignored entirely is the D.A.C.A immigrants themselves. They have a responsibility. Most of these individuals we're talking about are adults at this point. And when they turned 18, they should have taken steps to acquire legal citizenship in the United States. They could have applied for it just like anybody else. And being here living, and it's a good argument, this has obviously been been put in the forefront because of the issues dealing with Congress and with the this current administration and the last administration. If you really want to be a citizen of the USA, then enter into the process, get in line, and prove that you want to be part of this nation. I mean, there's nobody I know of that likes a line cutter. And especially those legal immigrants who have been patiently in line. They've been doing their paperwork, they've been taking their classes, they're working hard to become citizens of the United States. And now we have people who snuck in under the rope, and they've decided, well, no, we're going to give them the status that these people have. That's ridiculous. I mean, if these people are adults, then they need to take adult responsibilities. Now you're saying, well, Professor Arms, what would you do about it? And I go, okay. One, I've told you, if you really want to deal with matters of illegal immigration, you want to deal with it at the employer level. Because quite honestly, if you go to Walmart and you check through their employees, and every time you find someone who's illegal there, and you find Walmart $50,000 for that illegal, a Walmart will stop hiring illegal immigrants very quickly. And that's a way you obviously cut off the market for it. Now, as far as the D.A.C.A, I would probably shift them into a position where they could enter into the legal system to become American citizens, because they are here, and some of them have been here quite a long time. But I would not just give them amnesty. I would work them into the legal immigration system, and they would have to take the classes and jump through the hoops and do the things that other people who have tried to legally acquire citizenship have done. There might be a more streamlined program. I could possibly say that. They have been in the United States, some of them, for quite some time. Okay, but ultimately it's a matter of responsibility and adult responsibility. The Republicans aren't acting like adults, the Democrats aren't acting like adults, and the D.A.C.A people are not acting like adults. And if you want to solve a problem, someone's going to have to act like an adult. So, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please hit the like, subscribe, let me know, let your friends know. Send my information to other people. The more I get, the happier I'll be, and the more motivated I am to make more videos. So, thank you very much.